Hello, hello, how are we? I do trust that we are well. I've got myself all nice and ready. I've got water. Well, I haven't poured the water, but it is here. Standard everyday tea and some nice books to read. And as you may have noticed, I've been listening to a fair amount of Kurt Cobain lately. Thoroughly enjoying it. It's utterly bizarre and incredibly garage. I do expect to finish this poem today. It's terribly long, as you all well know. And I just realized that none of that was. There we are. None of it was captured. My apologies. Why are you still telling me about this? Yes. Very well done. So, we shall pick up from where I believe that we left off, which was just about. Yes, we had made it just to this page. To tellen how she weep, both eve and morrow, for in such case women can have such sorrow, when that their husbands be from them ago, that for the mere part their sorrow so, or else fallen in such melody, that it laced Courtney, no, Courtney, no, certainly. At least they die. Infant being the sorrows and the tears of old folk, and folk of tender years, so great a weeping was there none certain, when Acton was aboard, all fresh a slain, as that there was for death, and this Fabian, for sorrow of him weepeth children and man, and Thebes, alas, the pity there was there, scattering of cheeks, rendering eke of hair. Who wouldst thou be dead? The woman cray, and hadst gold anew and and hadst gold anew and Emily. No man might glad the heart of Theseus, saving his old fair Argos, that knew this world's transmutation, as on he had seen it thorn up and down, joy after woe, and woe after gladness, and showed him ensample and likeness, right as there died never man, quoth he, that lived not in earth in some degree. So yet there lived never man, he said, in all this world, that some time was not died. This world is but a thought fair, full of woe, and we be pilgrims passing to and fro. Death is the end of every worldly sore. And over all this yet said he much more, to the effect full wise to exhort the people that they should him recomfort, Duke Theseus, with all his busy care, cast now about, where that the hold on, sepulchre, the sepulchre of good. Yes, I believe that is sepulchre of good. Our sight may best make be, and eke most honourable in his degree. And at last he took conclusion that whereas the first Arcite and Palmon hadn't for love, for a battle than between them, that in the same grove, sweet and green, there when they had his amorous desires, he complained, and for love his heart fears. He would make a faith, in which the office of funeral he might all accomplish, and gave commendants anon to Hague, and how the oaks old, and lay them on a row, in heaps well arrayed for to burn. His offices with swift foot they run, and ride anon at his commandment. And after this Theseus hath men sent after a bear, and it all oversped with cloth of gold, the richest that he had, and in the same suit he clad Arcite. Upon his hands wear his gloves white, eke on his head a crown of laurel green, and in his hand a sword full bright, and cane he laid with bare visage on the bear. There with the weep the pity was to hear, and for the people should see him all. When it was day, he brought them to the hall. There roareth with the cry and with the sound. Then came this woeful Theban Palmon, with flaughty beard and rugged ashes, hairs, in cloths black, draped all with tears, and passing all in weeping Emily, the wrathfullest of all the company, and inasmuch as the surface should be the more noble and rich in his degree, Duke Theseus let forth 3 steeds braying, the trapped were in steel all glittering, and covered with the arms of Dan Arcite. Upon the steeds that were great and white, there Satan folk, of which one bare his shield, another his spear up in his hands hold. The third bar with his bow turkeys of brand gold was the case, and eke the harness, and ridden forth a place with sorrowful cheer, towards the grove, as ye shall after hear. The nobles of the Greeks, that there were upon their shoulders, carried them, and bare with slag peace, and ein red and weight, throughout the city by the Master Street, that spread was all with black, and up on high with black the house are covered utterly. Upon the right hand went old Aegus, and on the other side Duke Theseus. Sneaks in. I hope you enjoy it. We're currently describing the funeral presage. With vessels in their hand of gold well fine, as full of honey, milk, and blood, and wine. Eke Palman with the great company, and after that come woeful Emily, with fire in hand, as was that time the grace, to do the office of funeral service, high labour and full great appareling. Appareling, yes. I hope you are well, Astra. Was it at the service and at the fire making that with his green top reached the sky, and 20 fathom broad the oaks lie. Jesus, that's massive. This is so saying the boughs were so broad, of straw fast was the lide full many a load. But how the fire was made up on height, and eke the names how the trees hide, as oak fire, birch, asp, alden, holm, poplar, willow, elm, plane, ash, box, chestnut, lyre, maple, thorn, beech, hazel, yew, that's supposed to be yew, whipple tree, how they were felled shall naught be told for me. Nay, how the goddess Ronan up and down, disordered of habitation, in which they long and had dwelt in rest and peace, Nymphus and Faunus and Hamdrides, that's nor how the beasts and the brides all fleden for fear when the wood was fail, nor how the ground august was of the light that was not wont to see no sun bright, nor how the fire was laid with straw below, and then with dire strikes cloven in two, and then with green wood and spicer, and then with cloth of gold and jewelry, and garlands hanging with full many a flower, the myrrh, the incense, with all so sweet odour. Nor how our sight lay among all this, nor with reaches about his body is, nor that how Emily, as was the guise, put in the fire of funeral service, nor how the swooned when she made the fire, nor what she spake, nor what was her desire, nor what jewels men in the fire cast, when that the fire was great and burnt fast, nor how some cast their shield, and some their spear, and of the vestments which they there wear, and cups full of wine and milk they had. Unto the fire they burnt as if they were mad, nor how the Greeks with the huge rote their times writing all the fire about, upon the left hand with the high shouting, and thyres with their spears clattering, and thrice how the ladies can cry, nor how the homeward led was Emily, nor how our sight is burnt to ash cold, nor how that lichwake was held all that same night, nor with the Greeks play the wake plays, care I not to say, who wrestleth best naked with oil anoint. Ooh, that's a word. Anoint. Apologies. Nor who that bar him best at every point. I will not tell eke how that they be gone home to Athens when the play's done. But shortly to the point now will I wend, and make note of my long tell and end. The process so by length of certain years all stained in the mountain main and trees of all Greeks by general assent, then seemed me there was the parliament of Athens, and the certain point and case amongst the which Peiros spoke was to have with certain centaurs alliance, and have fully of Theseus obeisance, for which this noble Theseus anon let send after gentle Palmon, unwist of him what was the cause and why, but in the black clothes sorrowful he came at his commandment in high. Then sent Theseus for Emily. When they were settled, hushed was all the place, and Theseus abiden had a space, ere any word came fro his breastways. His eyen sat he where my apologies, his eyen sat he where he did devise, and with his sad visage he sighed still, and after that right thus he said his will. The first mover of the cause above, when he first made the fire chain of love, great was the effect, and high was the intent. Well wist he way, and what thereof he meant. For with that fair chain of love he bound the fire, the water, the air, and eke the land, in certain boundaries, that they may not flee. The same prince and Moverik, quoth he, hath stabled in the wretched world of dawn some certain days and durance to all that are engaged in this place, beyond the which day they may not pace, through that they it may well their days abridge. There needeth no that's the thing. Right to allege, for it is proven by experience. But that I will declare my sentence, then my man will be this ordained sense, that the same mover's stable is and entain. Well, my men know, but it be a fool, that every part deriveth from this whole, for nature hath not take his beguile. Oh, no. beginning of no party nor morsel of a thing, but of a thing that perfect is and stable, descending till it be crumbable, interesting, and therefore of the wise province he hath so well based his ordinance, that kinds of things and progressions shall endure by their successions. My apologies. That is an incredibly difficult one. Hello, Flo. How are you doing? And not entertain be without I. Who? This minster understood, and say with I, Lo, see the oak, the hearth long, nourishingly, the hearth so long of fire, as we may see, yet at last wasted is the tree. Considering eke how that the hard stone under our foot, of which we tread and goon, yet withers as is life by the way. The broad river sometime waxeth dry, the great towns see we wan and waned, and then I see that all thing hath an end. Of men and women see we well, also they live all in one of terms now. Of terms too. That is to say, in youth or else in age. All must be dead. The king shall a page. Some in his bed, some in the deep sea, some in the large field, as men may see. There helpeth not, all goeth the same way. 10 may I see well that all thought shall die. What maketh this but Jupiter, the king? The which is pronounce and cause of all things, coveting all unto his proper will, from which he is derived, soth to tell, and against this no creature alive of no degree availeth for to strive. Then is it wisdom, as it thinketh me, to make virtue of necessity, and take it well that we can eschew. I don't know that one. And named what to all of us is due. And whoso murmureth aught he doth folly, and rebel is to him that is on high. And certainly a man hath his honour, the dying in the excellence and floor, when he is certain of his good name. Then hath he done his friend, nor himself no shame, and gladder ought his friend be of his death. When with honour is yielding up the breath, then when his name all feeble is for age, and all forgotten is his great courage, then is it best, as for a worthy fame, to die with a man is the best in name, the country of all this wilfulness, why murmur me? Why murmur we? Why have we heaviness that good our sight of chivalry the floor departed is with worship and honour? Out of his foul prison of this life, why murmureth here his cousin and his wife at his welfare that loven him so well? Can he then thank? Nay, God, what? Not at all. They both his soul and eke themselves offend, and yet they may their sorrow not amend. How shall I, then, conclude verily, but after woe, to counsel joyalty, and thank Jupiter for all his grace? And ere that we depart fro this place, I counsel that we make of sorrows two one part in joy, lost in evermore, and look now where most sorrow is herein. There will we first amend and begin. Sister, quoth he, this is the full assent, with all the advice here of my parliament, the gentle Palmon, your own knight, that serveth you with heart, will, and might, and even hath done since first time ye him knew, that ye shall of the grace pity show, and take him for your husband and your lord. Lend me your hand, for this is our accord. Let's see now of your womanly pity. He is her king's brother's son's pardey, and though he were a poor bachelor, since he hath served you so many a year, and had for you so great adversity, is most be considered trust to me, for gentle mercy greater is than right. Then said he thus to Palmon full right, I trow there needeth little sermoning to make your assent to this thing. Come near, and take your lady by the hand. Betwixt them was I made anon the bond, that high mortman of marriage, by all the council of the baronge, and thus, with bless and eke with melody, hath Palmon wedden with Emily. And God, that all this wide world hath wrought, send him his love, that hath it dear brought. For now is Palmon, in all his wealth, living in bliss, riches, and in health, and Emily him loveth so tenderly, and he here serveth all so gently, that never was there word between them two of jealousy, nor of none other woe. Thus endeth Palmon and Emily, and God save all this fair company. Amen. That was the first book in the Golden Treasure of Longer Poems. First poem, sorry, not book. Feels like a book. written by Geoffrey Chaucer. Chaucer? Looks right. That took way too long to read, but that's more because I was stretching it out. Not stretching it out, it's more between multiple readings. We shall, for a brief change, move over to Native American Wisdom. Collection of speeches, praise, and poetry. Prose. I can read. I will struggle to read this just a touch because it is considerably whiter text. Yeah, you never arranged that for me. Sorry. My bookmark was a mortgage agreement that never ended up happening, unfortunately. If it did, I would no longer be here. And I'd have my own home, and it would be great. Well, I say that. I'm not sure if I would, because I would have moved out, I would be paying my own way, and then I would have lost my job, much the same way I did this time. Though here I have a safety net of living with a family. If I'd moved out, I'd be broke. Worse than I am now. Let us begin. Shall we read the foreword? Not entirely sure. Oh, that reminds me, I do need to send a quick message out. Terribly sorry. So unprofessional. Go here. There. You. Message has been sent, and we shall now proceed. Now, this is all segregated out into different tribes as to their sayings, or at least some of them. We've got the Sioux, the Saquamish. I will absolutely pronounce some of these abhorrently, and I do apologize for that before I even start. We've got Navajo, Blackfoot, Cherokee, Chain, Chilliwack. Hey, Eskimo as well. And of course Hopi. Yeah, we've got a lot of culture in one little book. Depending on how people enjoy this, I do have the Trail of Tears. Or at least I think it's actually written off of it. But not. Hang on. Yeah, the rise and fall of the Cherokee Nation, the Trail of Tears. This is one I need to read as well. If people have interest, I could do this one on stream. Though that would hurt significantly more because we all know what this is about. In time, possibly. We're skipping the forward because I don't wish to read it. Or at least not right now, nor the introduction. Oh, I like that one. I remember this one. Now, this is all from the Anishinabeg. Apologies. So until we read the next tribe name, this is all from them. When a young man reached manhood, he selected the longest day of the year, which was generally late spring, and wandered away from the village into the lonely forest, and there he would proceed to build a widswan, a nest in the tree, and he would lie down and commence his, that's the word, Gigawishawan, fast, as in he would fast, which would usually last from 5 to 10 days, without food or water. During the fast, he had many dreams, and by those dreams the course of his future life was guided, both on the war path and in hunting. Dream Poems. With a large bird above me, I am walking in the sky. I entrust myself to one wind, my feathers sailing on the breeze, honoring your brave men like them, believing in myself. I am like the spirit, waiting in my lodge, making me very old. I do seriously love reading things like this. It's not necessarily the abstract nature of it, it's not necessarily the look into a different culture. It's more the significance of what they all mean. It's more the not ceremonial, not religious, but spiritual feel they almost always have. And I can never get past that. It hits me in the best possible way. But it makes me long for so much more. Apache. Prayer for stalking deer. This day, he who holds our roads, our Sun Father, has come out standing to his sacred place. Now that he has passed us on the roads, here we pass you on your road. Divine One, the flesh of the white corn, prayer meal, shell, corn pollen, here I offer to you. With your wisdom, taking a prayer meal, the shell, the corn pollen, this day, my fathers, my mothers, in some little hollow, in some low brush, you will reveal yourselves to me. Then with your flesh, with your living waters, may I sate myself, in order that this may be, here I offer your prayer meal. So very much luring them out with food. Bait is an incredibly old system of hunting, very effective. Songs of the Masked Dancer. When the earth was made, when the sky was made, when my songs were first heard, the holy mountain was standing towards me with life. At the center of the sky, the holy boy walks 4 ways with life. Just mine, my mountain became standing toward me with life. Gan children became standing toward me with life. When the sun goes down to the earth, where Messel Mountain lies with his head towards the sunrise, Black Spruce became standing up with life. Right at the center of the sky, the holy boy with life walks in 4 directions: lightning, with life in 4 colours, comes down 4 times. The place which is called black spot with life, the place which is called blue spot with life, the place which is called yellow spot with life, the place which is called white spot with life. Our worship. We had no churches, no religious organizations, no Sabbath day, no holidays, and yet we worshipped. Sometimes the whole tribe would assemble and sing and pray, sometimes a small number, perhaps only 2 or 3. The songs had a few words, but were not formal. The singer would occasionally put in such words as he wished instead of the usual tone sound. Sometimes we prayed in silence, sometime each prayed aloud. Sometimes an aged person prayed for all of us. At other times one would raise and speak to us of our duties to each other and to unseen. Our service was short. By Geronimo in 1829 to 1901. He was the Apache chief. Chiracha Apache chief. Our prayer. When a child, my mother taught me legends of our people, taught me of the sun and sky, the moon and stars, the clouds and storms. She also taught me to kneel and pray, to use for strength, health, wisdom, and protection. We never prayed against any person, but if we had aught against any individual, we ourselves took vengeance. We were taught that Ussen does not care for the petty quarrels of man. Once again by Geronimo. See, now that seems very fitting, because as they see, creator, Ussen would be the same. God, if you will, Allah, if you are of that religion, doesn't care about the acts of man. Or at least not to my understanding. I get why some people say that it is very much between only you and the Lord above. But that was never how it was seen. We are on to the Blackfoot tribe. It's a short section for this one. The passage from Mother Earth to the spirit world. What is life? Is it the flash of a firefly in the night? Is it the breath of a buffalo in the winter time? It is the little shadow which runs across the grass and loses itself in the sunset. Now I do apologize, I misread that slightly. Oh, you said is it each time it said it is. Apart from that last time where I read it correctly. My sincere apologies. That is a midge. One moment, please. Nope. Got it. Terribly sorry. I cannot abide them. The Sun God. Oh, hang on, sorry, that last one was by Crossfoot, as he prepared for his journey to the spirit world. 1890. Now to the Sun God. We believe that the Sun God is all-powerful,
For every spring he makes the trees to bud and the grass to grow. We see these things with our own eyes, and therefore know that all life comes from him. Now, this is all in brackets, so this is by someone editing, I believe. The whites could not understand the deep spirituality of the sun dance on the plains of Indians, in which warriors underwent self-torture to strengthen their prayers. When this man spoke in 1910, the sun dance had been banned for a generation. Restrictions were lifted in the 1930s, and today there has been a revival of the old traditions. That actually makes me very happy. I never want history to die. I don't want religion to die. But this again is far more spiritual. And I can connect with spirituality far more than I can with religion. Then again, I am terribly British, and that makes a lot of sense. We are moving over to the Cherokee Nation. Formula for obtaining long life. Now then, now thou hast come to listen, thou long human being, thou art staying, thou helper of human beings. Thou never lettest go thy grips from the soul. Thou hast, as if it were, taken a firmer grasp upon the soul. I originated at the cataract, not so far away. I will stretch out my hand to where thou art. My soul has come to bathe itself in thy body. The white foam would cling to my head as I walk along the path of life. The white staff would come into my extended hand. The fire of the hearth will be left burning for me incessantly. The soul has been lifted up successively to the seventh upper world. Certain, I believe, that ancient tribe cultures have important lessons to teach the rest of the world about the interconnectedness of all living things, and the simple fact that our very existence is dependent upon upon the natural world we are rapidly destroying. Most non-tribal societies have hierarchical, effectively hierarchy, segmented worldview. They appear not to understand or to ignore the impact of their decisions on everything around them. As native people approach the 21st century, we look into the faces of the youth and see hope. We would like to see that hope kept alive by doing everything possible to assure that our tribe communities continue to dig a way out of the devastation of the last 500 years. We look forward to the next 500 years as a time of renewal and revitalization for native people throughout North America. That was by Wilma Mankiller, first female Cherokee chief in the 1980s. That's scarily close. Like, this isn't an old book by any measure. Does it say? No, that can't be right. Blah, 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 blah. First published in 2008. The edition first published in the UK and the USA 2018 by Watkins. Oh, no. Okay, so it was 2018, not 2008. Why does it say 2008? Very interesting. This is potent. This is important. Pertinent. I keep saying potent when I mean pertinent. Pertinent, not impertinent. Never mind. From the beginning, there were drums, beating out world rhythm, the booming, never failing tide on the beach, the four seasons, gliding smoothly one from the other, when the birds came, and there go, the bear, hibernating on his winter sleep. Unfathomable the why, yet all in perfect time. Watch the heartbeat in your wrist, a precise pulsing beat of life's drum. The loss of timing you are ill. With loss of timing you are ill. That was by Jim Lee Burton. I like that name. That's lovely. Jim Lee. Wit and wisdom. You can learn a lot from Indians. They say you must never disagree with a man while you are facing him. Go around behind him and look the same way they do. Look over his shoulder and get his viewpoint. Then go back and face him, and you will have a different idea. It's great to be great, but it's greater to be human. Everything worthwhile is a good idea. But did you ever notice there is more bad ideas that will work than there is good ones? Be sure you are right, and go ahead, but don't arborate. Whether your parents are good or bad, that's not your business. But stick with them when they are in trouble. No man is great if he thinks he is. People love high ideals, but they go to about 33% plausible. Liberty didn't work as good in practice as it does in speeches. A fool that knows he is a fool is one that knows he don't know all about anything, but the fool that don't know he is a fool is the one that thinks he knows all about everything. There is nothing as easy as denouncing. It don't take much to see that something is wrong, but it does take some eyesight to see what will put it right again. A remark generally hurts in proportion to its truth. Don't just grab at the first thing that comes along. Have an idea in your head and be willing to wait for it. Know when to refuse something that won't get you anywhere. Struggle along for years. You got to wait for a thing till it is ripe. Don't just pump into things just because somebody offers it to you. Look and see if it's going to lead you anywhere. Lead your life so you wouldn't be ashamed to sell the family parrot to the town gossip. This was by Will Rogers, a philosopher, comedian, half Cherokee. That I like. Ah. Oh.
Oh, that is beautiful.
Chain. Scout song. Take charge. Do not be frightened. Follow where you see me riding my white horse. Sitting Bull's song. Pretty bird, you saw me and took pity on me. You wished me to survive among the people. Oh, bird people, from the day always you shall be my relatives. The raven says, Our Father above, I have seen. The raven says, there is going to be another judgment day. I do believe that. Song of the Ghost Dance. The crow. I saw him when he flew down to the earth. He has renewed our life. He has taken pity on us. And lastly, in battle. The idea of full dress in preparation for battle comes not from belief that it will add to the fighting ability. The preparation is for death, in case that should be the result of the conflict. Every Indian wants to look his best when he goes to meet the Great Spirit. So the dressing up is done whether an imminent danger is an oncoming battle, or a sickness or injury at peacetime. Wooden leg, late 19th century. I actually really like that. You're not dressing up because you're going to battle. You're not trying to scare anyone. You're not trying to impress anyone. You're trying to give a good impression to the person you see as your creator. Again, your God, your Lord. Stay. They're incredibly short. Almost all of them are. But if you take them as a snippet, as a image of how the Native Americans thought, it's beautiful. For years I have adored how the Native Americans were. Not necessarily what they did, not necessarily what they stood for, or how they did it. But the mindset of so many of them just hits me in such a very personal way. So I know I stream here, I have a large online presence. I try to build a community. I want to bring people together. I want to bring people joy. And unfortunately, I use technology to do that. I'm very much a person that wants to live off grid. I want to be self-sufficient. I want to do everything for myself. I want to rear my own cattle. I want to produce my own clothing. Gather my own food, be that from hunting, harvesting, or fishing. I don't want to be reliant on anyone, except for those in my family or in my little group of other like-minded people. I realize how that sounds, and I know it sounds both wonderful and terrifying, because you get a lot of like-minded people together and, ooh, bad things can happen. But there's just something about nature. There's something about doing it with your own two hands. There's something about providing a meal that's never touched plastic, that's never been fed by a human hand, that hasn't been in a factory. That's just so much better. And if I can get other people to a point where we can live comfortably on our own ground, on what, I'm going to say this, but I don't mean it the way it sounds, but you know what I mean by it, our own God-given land, then I'd rather do that. I mean, again, everyone here knows that I'm engaged to an American, and I'm English, very much in England. I can't go there because of paperwork. That's it. And I find it utterly baffling that paperwork, that the bits of tree and bureaucratic bullshit stop people from traveling, stop people from exploring their horizons, expanding their mindset, getting to those they love. I don't understand countries. I don't understand a great deal of politics. I mean, I do, but yeah, exactly. No one owns a country. I mean, again, I'm terribly English, and the English would like to argue about that. I mean, Christ. I know realistically that had I just been born somewhere else, it wouldn't matter. Say I was born Canadian, I could just walk. Done. There you go. Redeemed life advice about my sketches. How should I study nature if it's cold outside? Should I take some samples with me? Now, you raise a interesting point there. You can do multiple little things. I need a bookmark. One moment. So what you could do is, if you wish... Also, yes, hello. I'm very much distracted talking about borders and countries and shit that really annoys me. There's a few things you can do for that kind of thing. If you're trying to study nature, you, when it is nice weather, could go for a long walk. I'm talking like 6, 7, 8 hours of just walking. You have a decent camera and you have a few ideas of the images you want to work on. Take loads of pictures, work down to the ones that you want, and just have fun with them. Study like a small corner of one of them, something to that effect. Or, I will be just a moment. Terribly sorry, it's downstairs at the moment. One moment.
Oh, I did mute. I wasn't sure if I did. Hello. So, the other half of what I was saying is you could just grow a little bit of nature at home. I did have them outside for the rain and record that it's quite late. So I've got a few little ones. These are all chilies, by the way. Unfortunately, that one is terribly small. Hopefully it gets bigger soon. We're going on quite a tangent here. But yes, fingers crossed, I get a nice crop. Hey, there's some fresh ones down there. Lovely. But what you could do, as I say, is just pick a small aspect, change how you're viewing it, turn things round. You could always put things there as well to alter what you're looking at or enhance it. I'll pop these back in a moment. There we are. There's no bad weather, only inappropriate clothing. Ostro, I see you think the same way I do. I'd sooner get a nice thick coat than simply not go out. I mean, again, I say that I've been inside for a very long time, and that hurts me inside. And in terms of request, I simply wish to see you progress. I'd love to see the next one that you do. I'm simply astonished by people that can do a much nicer job than what I can do. I'm much more of the linguist. I enjoy putting things in words. My writing is terrible. But that is due to dyslexia. So I will always struggle with my handwriting. I mean, you've seen with my painting, it's not exactly great, is it? But if you take your time, you keep at it even on the days that are less than favourable, you will progress exponentially. Every time you pick up that pencil, pick up that pen, the charcoal, the paintbrush, any of those implements, hell, you could paint with feathers. You could do all of this just to develop your own style. I mean, again, over here I have a collection of quills and dip pens because I find them enjoyable. There is no way in hell that I'm getting any better because I don't put the effort in. Then put them in different scenarios. Think up an image in your head and just use little objects. Say, tell yourself that's the building. Put that as a forest. You have a little tank here. And just give yourself every aid to progress. I would say absolutely go outside and just sit somewhere for a few hours and practice drawing whatever you see. I've done it in the past. I went to, not university, but sixth form, and studied graphical design and art. And I just sat next to the bus stop for like 4 hours drawing a roof. It was one of the best roofs I'd drawn. It was the most realistic building. One thing that I also did was I held my hand like so, had a spot of paper here, and just practiced that.
making sure not to add any harsh lines, making it look as right as I could, trying to keep all the veins that you're able to see, all of the little crevices that aren't quite creases. Hands are incredibly hard to draw, but you all understand that. You'll progress as you continue, don't worry. I drew a cool FE4005 once. Lovely. I have been looking at each one that you've been dropping into the Discord, and again, they're genuinely very impressive. Please do keep doing it. I love seeing that kind of stuff. I love seeing progression. It's great. I won't look immediately, because we're going to hop back to these. Because they're just tickling my heart in the right way right now. Oh no, don't worry, I fully understand that you do. Again, I'm very much here to try and aid people, try and better people in any way I can. If they're going through a tough time and they just need a calming person, a voice, someone to hear them, I'm happy to be that person. Hell, I'm used to being that person. Excuse me, the voice was fucking up. I'm very much used to being the person that is there for when people are in rough times. And I'm okay with that. I've got reasonably comfortable with people arriving in my life, requiring assistance, getting said assistance, and them swiftly departing. And that's okay. I intend not to be the main character in anyone's story. Apart from my own, of course, and that of my missus. To everyone else, I'd like to be a nice little addition, a footnote that is fondly remembered. Oh, well, there was a weird tangent. We are not with the Challywag, we're still with the Cheyenne. That's actually a very good point. Warthog, if you are struggling with things to draw, look at things from different nations, look at things from different backgrounds, different traditions, and it will absolutely help you, even in the thing that you have been doing this whole time. If you simply find new ways, different ways, possibly ways that aren't practiced anymore, you could just find that one little trick to do exactly what you need. And you can keep that in your arsenal forever. And you will definitely be one of those people that if someone comes to them and asks for help, you will give it. Right? Don't worry, I'm not accusing. I've just never understood why people say that knowledge is power, therefore I won't share it. It rubs me the wrong way. Didn't find it, so have a Karl. Also, have an amazing evening. Many thanks, Satan. If you wish to sit around and listen to Native American wisdom, this is a book published in 2018, I think, of many of the Native American tribes, and a few of the poems, a few of the songs that their leaders gave, a few of the outlooks that they wanted for their children. But if you wish to move on for your evening, feel most welcome. The old Indian teaching was that it was wrong to tear loose from this place on earth anything that may be growing there. It may be cut off, but it should not be uprooted. The trees and the grass have spirits. Whenever one such grows may be destroyed by some good Indian, his act is done in sadness and with a prayer of forgiveness because of his necessities. Once more by Wooden Leg. So again, different tribes had vastly different views on things, and that one purely adored all that grew. And that's so lovely. I mean, I can see how it can be an inconvenience, but you can work around things. We are now moving over to the Chilliwack, the beginning of the world. Long, long ago, before anything was, saving only the heavens, from the seat of his golden throne, the sun god looked out on the moon goddess and found her beautiful, hour after hour, with hopeless love. He watched the spot where, at evening, she would sometimes come out to wander. Through her silver garden, in the cool of the dusk. Far he sent his gaze across the heavens until the time came, one day, when she returned his look of love, and she, too, sat lonely, turning eyes of wistful longing toward her distant lover. Through their thoughts of love and longing, seeking each other, met halfway, mingled, hung suspended in space, thus the beginning of the world. Sat they long in loneliness, the great void of eternal space closing in upon them. Despair hung heavy in their hearts. Gone was the splendor of the golden throne, gone was the beauty of the silver garden. Their souls burned with a white flame of longing. Upleaped the sun god, chanting his love song, the words of the his love thoughts. My heart wings its way to you, O daughter of the moon. My heart wings its way to you, where you stand in your silver garden, your white face turned toward me. You will receive a gift, O daughter of the moon, a gift of my great love. For you only, you will receive a gift of my love, this day ere the dusk falls. Then, from his place at the gate of the sun, he, the sun god, raised his arm high and cast his message far into the sky. Swift it flew, following an unerring course toward the distant garden, where sat the moon goddess. But what of the message? Alas, it wavers in its flight, drops, falls on the embryo world. Thus the land, far across the heavens in the silver garden, the moon goddess wept bitterly. The tear was borne by the wind, fell on the half-formed world. Thus the water. There from the love thoughts, longing, and love words, sprang beautiful trees and flowers, little streams gurgled through the forest, leaping waterfalls formed, great rivers flowed by the sea.
Fish abounded, buffalo roamed the plains, and through the wooded paths sped all the wild things of a new world. The sun god left the seat of his golden throne, swung wide the gate of the sun. A ringing shot cleft the heavens. He seized his knife, and with swift slashes tore stripes of bark from great tree. Still he chanted his song of love and longing, as he wrote on the birch bark, in the speech of springtime, the language of lovers. The moon goddess from her silver garden heard the cry, stood and answered. He of the sun, she of the moon, stood they, with arms outstretched, a moment, silent. Then the first shadow of evenfall. They leaped into space, came to rest on the new world of their love. Thus the first man and woman. And this was by Kjellstrin Cepos, or Lord of the Waterfalls, circa 1840 to 1945. Once more in brackets, so this is the editor. This Chilliwack chief decided to make public the ancient secret songs that belonged to him before they became lost forever. From 1911 to 1915, he recited the songs of Ya'al Nahath, a cycle of 16 songs sacred to his people, to Elios Street, who, as editor of Indian Time, published them much later. The song is the first of the series. That was lovely. We are moving on to Chinook. Teach us and show us the way. Teach us and show us the way. We call upon the earth, our planet home, when its beautiful depths and soaring highs is virtually an abundance of life, and together we ask that it teach us and show us the way. We call upon the mountains, the Cascades, and the Olympics, the high green valleys and meadows filled with wild flowers, the snow that never melts the summits of intense silence, and we ask that they teach us and show us the way. We call upon the waters that rim the earth, horizon to horizon, that flow in our rivers and streams, that fall upon our gardens and fields, and we ask that they teach us and show us the way. We call upon the land which grows our food and nurturing soil, the fertile fields, the abundant gardens of orchards, and we ask that they teach us and show us the way. We call upon the forests, the great trees reaching strongly to the sky and earth in their roots, and the heavens in their branches, the fir and the pine and the cedar, and we ask them to teach us and show us the way. We call upon the creatures of the fields and forest and the seas, our brothers and sisters, the wolves and deer, the eagle and dove, the great whales and the dolphin, the beautiful orca and salmon who share the northwest home, and we ask them to teach us and show us the way. We call upon those who have lived on this earth, our ancestors, our friends, are dreamed the best for future generations, and upon whose lives our lives are built, and with thanksgiving we call upon to teach us and show us the way.
And lastly, we call upon all that we hold most sacred, the presence and power of the Great Spirit, of love and truth, which flows through all the universe, to be with us, to teach us, and show us the way. And that was in the 18th century. We are reading Native American Wisdom. It's a collection of poems, hymns, songs, and stories from many different Native American tribes. That one you were just listening to was one from Chinook. A few of them are considerably smaller, but have some fantastic backstory and actual stories. I mean, again, my missus is part Native American, and we've already actually visited one of their sections, because that is the Blackfoot tribe, which only has a section of a page, unfortunately. The Blackfoot is also known as the moccasin. Not the human person, the moccasin. There we go. It said it correctly that time. But no, we finished off one of the poems in the Golden Treasury of Longer Poetry that is considerably older, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So is that her tribe? That is a significant part of it. She can trace back to 3 tribes, but isn't a high enough percentage to be quote-unquote Native American. Like, it's very much in her blood, but she cannot be classified that way. It's the one she seems to align with the most, and I absolutely encourage that. I can't remember what one of them is, but I know that the other is Cherokee. But yes, I would say that is absolutely one of hers. I just adore the way the Native Americans viewed the world, for the most part. Oh, we could go down a rabbit hole there. We are going to move on to the Coast Salish and read A Masked Event for Comedian and Audience. I know nothing really about, but it seems interesting. I would highly recommend that you do read up on some of the teachings and such from the Native American point of view, rather than the European point of view or the American point of view. If you find things truly written by Native Americans or translated directly from them, it's... So, you just move around from your town where you were born and raised. There's a particular thought pattern. There's generally a given standard in terms of how one is expected to behave and the things that were taught to you through schooling. You move to a different town, a different village, city, country. There will be subtle differences, but the further afield you move, the larger the differences should be. Native America does it in more of a... Rather than physical things, we are going to teach you of the spiritual. Like, they obviously get the linguistics, they obviously get mathematics, and I adore their maps with a passion. But rather than, say, teaching science or something to that effect, I'm just using that as an example, I don't actually know. They would teach you of how to look after the earth, how to respect the spirit of the earth, Again, depending on which tribe, that changes quite considerably. And I see that far more valuable than the painful amounts of just preparing you to be a factory worker that our modern world does. So, fun fact, that's actually where schools came from. It was very much I think, British man whom needed people to be educated enough to work. Yeah, basically different techniques. Is absolutely teaching your brain to work in a completely different function. And I find it so much more freeing. And it feels so much more rewarding. I've gone on about it quite a few times, but I want to be self-sufficient, live off the land, and not require any outside assistance. I know that's not doable just yet. But the nearer that I will be able to get to it, the more peace I'll feel in my heart. The less tension I will feel in my muscles, and the happier I will be throughout my entire life. One more. Yes. Yeah, I'd agree to that. I wouldn't necessarily stipulate only agricultural, though, because we do teach a fair amount of that in our schooling, though that is only if you are actively trying to get into that business. I do understand what you're saying, though, and yes, I would agree. So once again, a masked event for comedian and audience. A comedian's mask is painted red on one side, black on the other. The mouth is twisted, the hair in disarray. From a costume he wears a blanket or a stripe of fur, which leaves his right hand free. He dances along with the other performers, often dances out of time to attract attention, and repeatedly annoys the dancers by quizzically scrutinizing their masks, poking at their eyes, looking at their noses, picking their teeth, etc. Sometimes the dancers whip the comedian vigorously with cedar boughs to drive him away, keeping time with the drums as they do so. When not annoying the dancers, the comedian goes around the room, pretending to take lice from the singer's hair. He sometimes goes to the very old woman or a very pretty girl to do this, using it as a pretext to caress her. The audience refrains from laughter. Sorry, not my first language, so perhaps it wasn't the most correct metaphor. More accurate. Okay, I get you. Yeah, I'd say it's more teaching a well-rounded human being rather than a commodity. But I have extreme views on this, and I'm very well aware of that. I don't align with the majority of, I suppose, the Western civilized world. I thoroughly enjoy books and will forever read. Until my dying day, I will read. It's one of the most joyful things I can do. But without the well-rounded nature of a Native American upbringing, it's very difficult to connect in such a way. I mean, again, I'm incredibly empathetic. I'm very dyslexic, and generally that puts you onto a very specific spectrum that alters the way you think. So rather than simply reading it as a book and having it separated, you more you more take it on board, and it just sits in the back of your head and spins. Yes. I find it utterly fascinating since, again, you're raised one way, but as you look more on the other, you see the good and the bad in both of them. And I think finding a happy medium is paramount to finding a happy life. We are moving on to our Earth. Everything on the Earth has a purpose. Every disease and herb to cure it, and every person a mission. This is the Indian theory of existence. Written by, well, possibly spoken by, Morning Dove, Christian Quintescate, Quintescate, 1888 to 1930. Get out of here. 1936. Totally, I can really understand what you mean with the different upbringings and such. Ah, yes. I am very glad that I don't sound like a madman rambling away to himself. On children. Children were encouraged to develop strict discipline and high regards for sharing. When a girl picked her first berry and dug her first roots, they were given away to an elder, so she would share her future success. With the children carried water for the home, an elder would give compliments. Pretending to taste meat in water carried by a boy, or berries in that of a girl, the child was encouraged not to be lazy and to grow straight like a sapling. Many thanks. I do appreciate it when people stop by and have a wonderful chat. On marriage, again, this is all the Costa Salish, their view on not only their things, their ways of life, but also ours currently. For an important marriage, the chief president, aided by his wife, he passed a pipe around the room so each could have a smoke in common. In this way, families were publicly united to banish any part or future disgracement, and thus stood as one united. The chief then gave the couple an oration of his advice, pointing out the good characteristics of each, and then offered his congratulations to them for a happy future. Once more, Morning Dove. There is a moth. What kind of a moth are you? Terribly sorry, I utterly hate moths. I'm well aware that holding this book, having the speeches that I've had already, I should really conserve things, and I understand that. I know the use of moths. But I don't like them destroying my clothes. Oh, I lost it because I looked away. On lost spirits. It was supposed that lost spirits were roving about everywhere in the invisible air, waiting for children to find them. If they searched long and patiently enough, the spirit sang its spiritual song for the child to memorize and use when calling upon the spirit guardian as an adult. There you are. One moment, please. I will throw it outside. terribly sorry. Bees generally you can just quite comfortably ignore, and they'll usually ignore you as well. Generally. I must admit, in my future, I do hope to own bees, though less purchase and more acquire, build a suitable habitat for them, and they shall come. There we are. Yeah, but I'm allergic, so they really freak out. Yeah, I can fully understand that, actually. I mean, that must absolutely suck. Hang on, does it censor the word suck? Terribly sorry, I always find it amusing, the words that this will censor. Not that kind of censor. I understand that allergies are terribly unfortunate, and there's not really a great deal you can do about it. But I do trust that you understand the importance of bees and the necessity of them. So long as you can cohabit with them to some extent, all should be well.
I was really dirty-minded.
Yes. Oh, it comes up with some special ones sometimes. I mean, I'm not exactly loud, so it's always complaining that I'm too quiet. So I can give it a lot of leeway with what it hears sometimes. We are moving on to My Heart Soars. The beauty of trees, the softness of the air, the fragrance of the grass speaks to me. The summit of the mountain, the thunder of the sky, the rhythm of the sea speak to me. The faintness of the stars, the freshness of the morning, the dewdrops of the flower speak to me. The strength of fire, the taste of salmon, the trail of the sun, and the life that never goes away, they speak to me, and my heart soars. By Chief Dan George. Many thanks. That's actually why we started doing the readings on Sundays. I'm never intended to be an ASMR streamer, but on Sundays I very much am. I've been told that I'm incredibly calming, and I'm okay with that. I like to be a person that makes others comfortable. And if I can do anything to help, generally I will do everything I can. I will very much say, though, when I do start streaming, my voice does alter a touch. This isn't how I normally speak, but it's not me putting anything on knowingly. It just kind of happens. And depending on what poetry I read that day, can very much alter it. A little while ago we read some Scottish poetry that was from, I think, the 1600s. Utterly loved it, but I could not break from that accent that it forced you into. Yeah, okay, I can respect that. Terribly sorry. Lovely. We are moving on to the how to say that Kochheit, I think. The origin of death. They were coming up from Ship-Up. One of their children became sick, and they did not know what was the trouble with him. They had never seen sickness before. They said to the Shaikoi Curing Society, "Chief, perhaps our mother in Ship-Up will help us. Go back and ask her to take away the trouble." He went back to our mother, and she said to him, "The child is dead. If your people did not die, the world would fill up, and there would be no place for you to live. When you die, you will come back to Ship-Up and live with me. Keep on traveling, and do not be troubled when your people die." He returned to his people and told them what our mother had said. In those days they treated one another as brothers. All the Indians of all the pueblos, they planted corn with the digging stick, and they were never tired. They dug trenches to irrigate their fields. The corn ripened in one day. When they came to frijoles, they separated, and the different Pablos went their own ways. From Ruth Benedict, Tales of the Chilcote Indians. Once again in brackets, so this is by the editor and such. The council of the mother who resides at Ship-Up, the place of emergence and the realm of the dead, is quite in keeping with Pablo philosophy. Excessive mourning is harmful and will interfere with the welfare, not only of the living but also of the dead. In another Chilcote story, we hear that a child that had died could not find rest because her mother did not stop crying. Alright, I'm going to say thanks for the fun chat. Have a have a continued great day or night. Well, it is currently going to tick over to 11 o'clock very shortly, and I hope you have a wonderful night's sleep. Don't forget, if you wish to listen to any of the other readings we've done, they are all on YouTube, and you can see that link on the Twitch channel down below. But yes, I do hope you sleep very well. Do feel free to join the Discord as well, should you wish for any specifics to be read, or do any gaming, or model making. I do all of these things. We are moving on to the Comanche Songs of the Ghost Dance. The sun's beams are running out. The sun's beams are running out. The sun's yellow rays are running out. The sun's yellow rays are running out. We shall live again. We shall live again. That was ever so short. I lived happily. I was born upon the prairie, where the wind blew free, and there was nothing to break the light of the sun. I was born where there were no enclosures, and where everything drew a free breath. I knew every stream and every wood between the Rio Grande and the Arkansas. I have hunted and lived over that country. I lived like my father before me, and like them I lived happily. Written by 10 Bears. Para wa Samam, late 19th century. Yamparthek, Comanche chief. I will try to pronounce these, and I feel I have a good stab at it because I did for a while learn a fair amount of Navajo. Unfortunately, that is very much a language that you need a native speaker to aid you with. And I do intend to learn more. If I can find more readings, or if I can find anyone to converse with, I would be thoroughly enthralled, that's the word, to do so. I am currently teaching myself Latin as well for much the same reasons, but less for the spoken, more for the poetry and history. We are moving on to the Creek, poetry of Alex Posey, 19th century. Nature's blessing. 'Tis mine to be in love with life, and mine to hear the robin's song. 'Tis mine to live apart from strife, and kneel to flowers blossoming. To all things fair, as at a shrine, to drink the air as I would wine. To love I've built a temple here, beneath the board of oak and pine, beside springs that all the year tells of a harmony divine. I own no creeds, sweet love beside my spirit's needs are satisfied. That sounds like heaven. Good God. A vision of June. At last, my white narcissus is in bloom. Each blossom sheds a wonderful fragrance. Lo, from over bleak December's waste of snow, in summer germinates lightly through the gloom. Comes June to claim the truant in my room. With her the airs of sunny meadows come, and in the apple boughs I hear the hum of bees. In all the valleys brooks resume, twixt greening banks there murmurs melody. The sunlight bursts in splendor in the blue, and soon the narrow walls recede into the distance from my view. My spirit in the summer's largeness grows. In every thorn is hidden by the rose a smile, like bits of broken glass, chance scatters in the sun. Our deeds reflect the light we carry on the world. Oh, that's lovely. Well, there's a beautiful mental image. Just like this one beam of sunlight bouncing around. Very much just bringing people joy, even in the bad. A reverie. The sky bends over in sweet forgiveness. Earth is filled with light, and mellow autumn hues, soft winds, the croon of summer's lands, and through the brooding stillness comes a stain of music. And as leaves are swept upon the river's tide away,
my thoughts drift off and on to God. The poet's song. The poet's song, but fragments of a high-born melody, a few stray notes and castaways of perfect harmony, that come to him like murmurs from the sea of mystery. I thoroughly liked the pace of that one. That was lovely. Assured. No, not steward. Assured. There we are. Be it dark, be it bright, be it pain, be it rest, be it wrong, be it right, it must be for the best. Some good must somewhere wait, and some time joy and pain must cease to alternate, or else we live in vain. On to the Eskimo. Spring Song, a fragment of it. Glorious it is to see young women gathering in little groups and paying visits in the houses. Then all at once the men do so want to be manly. Glorious it is to see long-haired winter carbo returning to the forests, while the herd follows the ebb mark of the sea. With storm of clattering hooves, glorious it is, when wandering time is come. From Nud Rasmussen. Intellectual Culture of the Igliot Eskimo. I do not know how to say that, but I will attempt. Utetuku's song. I am joyful. This is... 1 moment. Terribly sorry. Right, terribly sorry, my throat had a stabbing pain. We shall do only a few more. We shall not finish the Eskimo, but we shall do a few. Oh, I am joyful. This is good. There is nothing but ice around me. That is good. I am joyful. That is good. My country is nothing but slush. That is good. I am joyful. This is good. When, indeed, will this end? This is good. I am tired of watching and waking. This is good. Oh, Cumberland Sound Eskimo from Friends Bars, Eskimo Tales and Songs. In brackets, so very much the editor. The song was composed, says Boas, by the young man named Otetuko, who went adrift on the ice when sailing and did not reach the shore until after a week of hardship and privations. That is incredibly impressive. We are moving to the rainbow now. Peace after the storm of war and suffering, God's covenant with mankind through his prophets and the union of all the colors of the races of mankind in pleasing harmony. This is the symbol of the rainbow. Seal Hunter, early 20th century, from William Willoyer, Warriors of the Rainbow. See, now that seems tremendously pertinent. It seems like we should
Once more revisit those times where skin tone didn't matter, ethnicity didn't matter, upbringing didn't matter. It just mattered as to how you were. If you were a good person, you were treated as such. Why are times so much more confusing now? 2 songs from Eskimo Point. 1. I recall something. I recall the words of a stranger about forever. A person came down from the sky, telling them not to be afraid. They would be hearing about life, spiritual life, soul. A baby will be born. 2. How am I going to sing the lead dog just got angry in the deep snow? Lead dog just got angry in the deep snow. In the deep snow I have to run, to follow the tracks. I want to get closer to you. And here is where we shall halt for the day. My throat shall not let me continue this current venture. But believe me, we shall be continuing. And we shall very much revisit the longer poetry. We've only briefly made it in. I will find someone to send you to that I believe is a good fit. Until then, here's some Kurt Cobain. I know it doesn't really fit the feeling, but it's something I thoroughly enjoy. Ostro, you know damn well you could just poke me on Discord and I would happily just chat with you for a while. I have time for yourself and Vlad, regardless of what I am doing. And you are an absolute wonderful person. Wonderful person, not wonderful button. How very peculiar. Let's see, who do we have online? I'm starting to learn that, and I do genuinely appreciate that. Unfortunately, there's no one that I particularly think is a good fit to send people to. If you have anyone that you believe would be a nice fit, feel more than welcome to advise. Of course. Also, I'm getting a pop-up on my own stream to follow me. I find that utterly ridiculous. One moment, I do need something else to listen to. This is not doing it right now. Due to the subject matter, of course, I will go with something native. Don't have anyone doing anything chilled. In which case, I think we'll raid to someone that does charity stuff, because he only does charity things. Except for only doing an Overcooked stream. One doing an Overcooked. We can go there if you wish. So, as we raid out, we shall listen to some native Inuit music. That's a touch loud. There we are. In which case, yes, let us set that raid.
I utterly love this kind of music. I hope you have a wonderful night as well, Astra. And once more, thank you for joining me. It has been ever such a joy. As ever, keep love in your heart and spread nothing but love. Until next time.